Okay. Okay, here's where we left off. I'll put it in red. I'm going to close the gallery, so I will not be able to see any of your faces. So if you have anything to say, please just shout it out, because I won't be able to see anybody raising their hands or anything of that nature. Let's see if I can increase the size a tiny bit, make it a little bit more legible. Okay, let's try that. Let's see how that works. Okay. So what we had finished last time was going over introducing the interview, and we had stopped there so that we are picking up where the interview begins, where the interview questions begin. I always make a note if there's somebody else there, both for clinical and for forensic purposes. I want to know if somebody else was part of this interview. And before I start, this is a pause. This is a good place to pause because I I have to get a drink of water. Don't go away. I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, thank you, Chris. Sorry for the interruption. Uh, so at this point, this is kind of a pause in the interview. I have introduced myself and what the interview is about. So I asked the client, do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions about what we've talked about or anything else, or anything you'd like to tell me before we begin? So I give them a chance to do that, let them know that this is done with their permission. And then I ask a nice open-ended question. What can I do for you? What is it we can do for you? At this point in my career, while I was doing these, I was supervising Mrs. Simpson, who's no longer at ACA, but I'd say, what can we do for you? How can we help you? And I give them a chance to talk for as long as they want. I've when I actually do this, I give myself a lot of room to write answers. Typically, I need a page or two to write their reply here to this. I've condensed this form for the purpose of our training. And then finally, after they've told me a lot, as much as they want to, about their reason for seeking help, I get into some very practical, fact-oriented questions. What do you consider your race or ethnicity to be? If they say white or Caucasian, I want them to break that down. There's a lot of countries over there in Europe, and they're quite different from each other, quite a different set of cultures. So I want them to narrow that down for me if they can. Are you right-handed or left-handed? Now, these are the sex options that we have in therapy notes. And we've had some discussion in this group about their adequacy. So I put these out because these are what we fill out when we fill out an intake form in therapy notes. But I'll pause for a moment if anybody wants to comment on any of these. And sexual orientation, again, these are the options available on therapy notes. And I want to know about spirituality, and here is how I'm trying to give you the benefit of 50 years of experience doing this about 3,000 times. And you may want to do intakes. You may have a job where you do intakes. You may get, I've had jobs where that was my job, was to do intake interviews. So I ask, do you consider yourself to be a spiritual person? And I want to know a little more about their experience. So I'll ask, do you belong to a church? Do you attend a church? Do you pray alone? Do you pray in groups? And they may say no, but that doesn't cover the whole ground because they may have been raised in a church. I want to know that too. Just because they're not participating in a church now doesn't mean that they weren't raised in a church, which has had a big impact on them and their life. So I will ask, were you raised in a church? Where were you born? I may ask, when did you come to California? Who raised you? Was it both biological parents or who was it that raised you? Adoptive, grandparents, so forth. Did your parents stay together? Did they separate, divorce, or die? Who are you living with now? And I want to include pets because people get very attached to their beloved pets. Are you married? Yes, no, or never? How long have you been married? Is this your first marriage? And have them say as much about their marriages as is relevant. Do you have children? I have the word other there because often by this point of the interview, they've told me about their children. But I want to make sure I know all the children, that I have identified all the children. So do you have other children? Do you have siblings? And I want to know where they are. I want to know where the siblings and children are. Are they in California? Where are they? Are you in touch with them? Are your parents living? And if not, when did your father pass? When did your mother pass? What was the cause of death? These things have clinical relevance for our clients. I ask, how is your social support group? Do you have a good social support group? Who do you have in your social support group? I want to know because it's probably something we're going to be talking about. Education, how did you go in school? How far did you go in school? Employment, are you working? Do you have a sufficient...
There's no audio.
Okay, say hello. You
I
hit your
can't.
video?
No,
No, okay.
no,
Pamela,
okay.
can you
Say
mute
hello.
yourself, please?
I'm not on. I can't hear them either.
I'm
Hey, Pamela. Are you working? And I want to know if their retirement income is sufficient.
Okay, speak.
Can't say anything. It's not connected.
My clientele are Medicare, almost
Oh, there's something down here in blood.
Let me see.
Pamela,
Let me see. Let me get down here.
I am going to mute you.
My clientele at this point is almost entirely Medicare, retired people. So if you have a retired person with insufficient income, barely making it, barely scraping through, I have clients like that. I want to know this about them. Physical health, how is your health? And that may not cover the whole field. So I ask, is there anything you see a doctor for? And that still may not cover it. So I may ask, is there anything you need to see a doctor for?
Mm.
And by asking these three questions, I can usually get them to disclose their physical health condition. Are you taking medicine?
Testing.
Nope.
Something is going on.
Something's loose. Something ain't plugged in.
She's
Is the
apparently not
camcorder plugged in?
Because your
Not
mic is
aware.
moving, so it's plugged in because your mic is moving on.
Medicines, are you taking medicines? And because we're dealing with mental health, have you ever taken medicines for your mental health? And I have the word other there because often by this point of the interview, they've already told me what medicines they're taking.
Dr. Venn,
Yes.
medications, would you also include any of the dosages that they like for the meds that they're taking? Like underneath the ever taken medicines for your mental health?
I might. They may not remember that.
Okay.
But that may be something I might include.
Okay.
Now, what do I want to know about their mental health care? Have you ever been a mental health inpatient?
We're making a lot of noise. Oops.
I want to know this about everybody if they've ever been a mental health inpatient. I don't want to be 6 months into treatment and then find out that they've been a mental health inpatient. This is the kind of information I want to have at the outset. Have you ever had outpatient therapy? I may word it like this. Have you ever had the kind of therapy that you and I are going to do, where you stay at home, you're not in a hospital, but you talk to a doctor once a week or something like that? I want to know their vegetative signs. How are you sleeping? Are you getting enough sleep? Do you feel tired? And appetite, I've learned to ask it this way. Do you ever lose your appetite for food? Because that communicates pretty well, tells me what I want to know. Because I don't want to know if they're eating or not. I want to know if they have an appetite. How's your weight? Are you gaining weight, losing weight, staying the same? Are you doing something for exercise? And remember that a question is a suggestion. As we said before, a question is a suggestion. If you ask people if they're doing something for exercise, that may turn out to be a very good intervention to motivate them to start getting exercise or resume exercise, just to make them aware of it. And I want to hear about their cognition. Are you thinking clearly, or are you having any trouble with memory or concentration or attention? And if they say yes, I want to know how serious it is. So I ask, is it interfering with your life? Are you concerned about it? Have you seen a doctor about it? Because a lot of people will say, yeah, I don't remember as well as I used to. But you want to narrow it down and see if it's something that needs an intervention. And I want to hear about their mood. Do you feel sad sometimes? Is that your dominant feeling? Do you feel frustrated sometimes, angry or irritated? Is that your dominant feeling? What is your dominant feeling now? And in the interest of diagnosing if it's a major depressive disorder, recurrent or single episode, I'll ask, is this the first time in your life you have felt this bad, or have you felt this bad before? Has sadness ever been your dominant mood? And I want to ask about hopelessness. So I've learned to recast things in simple language rather than saying, do you ever feel hopeless? I say, do you ever get the feeling like nothing is going to get better for you? Is that your dominant feeling? Go ahead. Somebody was speaking. No? Okay. Adhering to Joyner's interpersonal theory of suicide. I want to probe this a little bit. Do you ever get the feeling like you're a burden on others? Is that your dominant feeling? Who is it that you feel like you're a burden on? And do you ever get the feeling that people would be better off without you? Is that your dominant feeling? So these questions, as you can see, have started with questions about mood, and we have moved into suicidality without mentioning the word suicide. We're getting some background for how they feel and how they feel about their social environment. I want a family history of mental illness. Does anyone else in your family have a mental illness? And I want to hear if there's a family history of suicide. Has anyone else in your family either ended their own life or tried to end their own life? And now finally we can focus in on the client's thoughts about suicide. Have you always been happy to be alive, or have you ever wished you were dead? Phrased as an either or questions. I like either or questions about some of these sensitive areas. I like them better than yes or no questions. Have you ever thought about ending your own life? Are you thinking about it at this time? And what else do I want to know? I want to know if they have a history of self-harm. Have you ever done anything else to harm yourself, the word else in quotes, because in parentheses, because often at this point of the interview, they've already told me about self-harm. I like to hear about method. Do you ever think about how you would do it? This tells me a lot about the person's thinking about suicide. Have you ever made a plan? Well, what's a plan? A plan involves a time and a place, and people, like a time to do it, a place where you would do it, a situation where there'd be nobody else around where you could get away with it. Intent. What is intent? Well, have you ever made up your mind that you would actually go through with it? And question H is important. What did you expect would happen? Because you may hear people describe incidents of self-harm, but the question of whether or not they actually expected to die is an important one in getting to know what their frame of mind was. So I ask in these situations, what did you expect to happen? Did you expect to die? And in the interest of helping them in the future, I might ask, how would I know if you were ever serious about suicide? Now, question J is one of my favorite questions in the world, because if you have someone with a suicidal history, you're building up a record of all this self-harm and all these suicidal thoughts and all these depressions and feelings of hopelessness. So when you read some of these records, you may get the feeling, well, wow, here's a person who's really in danger of ending their life. And what did you do? Did you do something to prevent it? So question J, I ask, how does today compare with your worst day ever? Because they may say, well, today's not so bad, or today's actually a good day. So that clarifies that this is not someone you need to take immediate action with. So that's a very important question to ask when doing these kinds of interviews. We have a section on therapy notes intake about developmental milestones. So I just ask a general question. Were you normal in your development, or did you have delays in things like walking, speaking, reading? I want to know any history of abuse or neglect. And again, I like these either or questions about sensitive matters. I find them more productive than yes or no questions. Were you always treated well as a child, or were you abused? Were you neglected? And I might say I have a checklist here. I just want to check some things off. Were you physically abused, sexually abused, verbally, emotionally, psychologically abused? Was Child Protective Services or the police ever involved with your family? Do you think these things had an effect on you? Some of these I don't ask, depending on what's come up during the interview. But G, I want to know, is anybody abusing you at this time? I want to know that. So I'm certain to ask that. I want to screen for psychosis. And how do I do that? Is anybody trying to hurt you or take advantage of you at this time? Because that may elicit delusional thinking. And if they say no, then I can say in my intake note that no delusional thinking was elicited. So I've screened for psychosis. I want to know about danger to others. So I ask, are you thinking about hurting somebody? I want to screen for substance abuse. Have you ever used drugs or alcohol? What do you like to drink or use? When did you take your last drink or use your last drug? And this question D, I find to be a good question for assessing how serious a substance use problem is. This is alcohol particularly. Wine and liquor now are sold in 750 milliliter bottles. So I will ask, how long does that size bottle last you, or how long does a 6-pack last you? They may say a day, 2 days, or whatever they say. It gives me an estimate of what their consumption is. It's a much better question than asking how much are you drinking. If you just say how much are you drinking, you aren't going to get something as productive usually as if you narrow it down like question D. Then the 4-cage questions, everybody heard the 4-cage questions. These are sensitive to people who have alcohol and drug problems. You can ask 4 questions and pretty well identify who has a problem. C is for cut down. Have you ever felt you ought to cut down on your drinking or drug use? A is for annoyed. Have people annoyed you by criticizing your drinking or drug use? G is for guilty. Have you ever felt bad or guilty about your drinking or drug use? E is for eye opener. Have you ever had a drink or taken a drug first thing in the morning to steady your nerves or get rid of a hangover? And a yes to any one of those 4 is likely to indicate someone who has a drug or alcohol problem. And in writing my report, I will write the ones that they answered yes, and then a slash and cage. So I might say C/cage, or if none of them, I'll write 0/cage. So those are the 4-cage questions. Good to know. Have you?
Ben,
Go ahead, please.
what does IDR stand for?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not being funny with you, Anessa. It doesn't. I'm not saying I don't remember the answer. That's IDR stands for I don't remember.
That's okay. Oh, this is Natalie, by the way.
Oh, Natalie, sorry, I'm not good with voices.
Yeah, you're good. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Natalie, you have a lot of experience in assessing substance use.
Yeah.
Do you have any comment during an intake, an initial intake, where someone's coming with any kind of problem at all? Do you have any thoughts on how you would screen a person?
I would also assess like the frequency. So how often do they use it? When was their first time using it? Their drug of choice, specifically like figuring out what substance, and then if they recognize if their substance use is actually a problem or not as well. And then any treatment seeking, have they worked on their substance use as well? And because with my clients in substance use, the ASAM that I was talking to you guys about, that goes like into full extent. So that's like its own assessment in general. But quick screeners with like in Medicare, I haven't had any clients with substances just yet. But whenever they mention maybe like alcohol, I would just explore like, well, how often do you drink alcohol? How many, glasses or bottles? What type of alcohol as well? Is it hard liquor? Is it maybe beer? Something like that. And then also, are they doing the drug use or alcohol? Is it in a social? Is it isolate like by themselves? Just getting little points with that too, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I will ask, have you ever been in rehab for a drug or alcohol problem? Looking forward to having them in treatment. I might ask, have you ever gone to a 12-step meeting like AA, Narcotics Anonymous, Al-Anon? I want to know if there have been trauma, anything else really bad ever happened to you, and else is in parentheses because often by this point of the interview, they've told me about their trauma. Have you had any other legal problems? We have sections for these on the therapy notes intake note. And how do you screen for psychosis? Okay, I've already screened for delusional thinking with one question. And let's screen now for hallucinations. And I ask, have you ever seen things other people did not see? And that is the question, not have you seen things that weren't there? Because clients will say, well, how do I know if it wasn't there if I saw it? So the real question is, have you seen things other people did not see? Reality being a social construct. Have you ever seen something and then said, hey, did you see that? And the other person said, no, I didn't see that. And not just that they have better vision than the other person, but that it's hallucination. And auditory hallucinations, have you heard things other people did not hear? We're getting near the end of the interview now. I have put these really pathological type questions like psychosis, substance use, suicide. I've put them toward the end of the interview. And I always want to know at an intake interview if my client is in crisis. So I don't want to leave an intake interview without knowing if the person I'm talking to is in crisis. And in the state of California, we are licensed by the Department of Consumer Affairs, and they take crisis very seriously. They want us to know when clients are in crisis, and they want us to do the right thing. So toward the end of the interview, I will say, we're almost near the end of our interview. One of the things I always like to do is make sure whether or not the person I'm talking to is in crisis. And if they are, on those rare occasions when they are, I'll say, okay, I think you're in crisis and that you need help. Usually the person I'm talking to is upset, but not in crisis. So I might say, I can see you're upset. I see you have problems, but you do not seem to be in a state of crisis at this time, or you seem to be in a mild state of crisis, something like that. And then I want to know if they agree. Would you agree with me that you're not in a state of crisis at this time? And then I document that. I want to know whose idea treatment was. This is very important to see what their motivation is in coming into therapy. So what made you decide to get treatment at this particular time? Was this your idea or was it somebody else's? And then we're near the end. So here's Dr. Matthews' favorite question. And I know this is Christopher Matthews' favorite question. What else? We're near the end of our interview now. What did I not ask you that I should have? Is there anything else that you want me to know that I did not ask you? And before leaving the interview, I will write the treatment plan together with the client. So I tell them, now it's time for us to write your first treatment plan. And this is not something I do without you. This is something we do together with your input. So let's be clear about what it is you want to accomplish for yourself by coming here for therapy. And try to get them to talk, list what their goals are. IRTX is individual therapy, so I'll make a recommendation for the treatment plan: individual, couple, in-person, video, telephone. How often are we going to have visits? And then I want to get the client's approval. So do you approve of this treatment plan? Get a yes or no. I want to know if there are records out there that I should get. So I ask, is there anyone I should get records from? And now we're wrapping up. So it's time to instill hope and end on a positive note. So I will say something like, this was a very good session. Thank you for participating and answering my questions. This is a good start. And I will say, you have a lot of good qualities that will help you. I can see you have a lot of good qualities that are going to be helpful to you. And I've listed them here to freshen my mind. I can see that you're motivated, that you really want to solve this problem. Treatment was your idea and not somebody else's idea, which is always a good sign. I can see that you're intelligent. You have good verbal skills. You're good at describing yourself and things about yourself. You have good insight, which means that you can see what your difficulties are. I can see that you understand yourself very well and you understand other people well. You're aware of how things in your life have affected you. I can see that you're good at talking about yourself, and that's important in therapy because you get a lot of practice at talking about yourself in therapy. You're good at understanding people. I see you have a good sense of humor. That's a good thing. That'll help you get through. You have a good support group. You have a good family. You have a good marriage. You have strong religious faith. These are all things that are going to be helpful to you as you go to work on this problem. So this is all in the interest of instilling hope. And then I would say, I think Mrs. Simpson is going to be a very good counselor for you. This is not the time to say things like, good luck. Well, you got a lot of serious problems. Good luck. This is not a time to say, well, I think your counselor will be okay. No, this is a time to be encouraging, and instill hope. And that's how it's done. So let me see if there are any questions from the group. And I'm fumbling here, trying to get my screen back.
Here, I can take you off sharing.
Thank you. Ah, good. Okay, you're back. So that's how I do an intake interview. If the person cooperates and gets down to business, it can be done in 45, 50 minutes. So you come out with a treatment plan. At our next training, if we do this again, maybe it would be good to look at the therapy notes, treatment plan, and intake note to refresh your mind on what goes into those and how those can be written.
And this Excel sheet is in the didactics folder for anybody who wants to look at it and use it. I've used it a couple of times myself.
Good.
Nice reminder of the various questions that we can ask. Any other questions, folks?
It gives you the information that you need to fill out the therapy notes, intake form, and treatment plan. So that is how I word those questions. That reflects the experience I've had in which words to select to communicate with people and get the right kind of information.